grateful to everyone who has come tonight, and we just want to thank you so much. I want to thank all of the volunteers who are here for our organization, our supporters. Volunteers, raise your hand. Board members, raise your hand. Our board chair, Pamela Bright. Do you want to come up and say anything, Pamela? Okay. Our new board chair, Pamela Bright, we're happy to have her and happy to have all of you all. We're not going to delay our program. We have lots and lots of history, rich history that we're going to be hearing about from the Boleyjack family, Kirkland, Triune, and College Grove. Are you all excited? Yes. Me too. I grew up in the city of Franklin. I don't know a lot about Kirkland, College Grove, and Triune except for some of my classmates that when we were together until integration, some students from Kirkland, College Grove, and Triune. But I don't know a lot of the history. And you all know that the African American Heritage Society is the African American Heritage Society of Williamson County. Is that right? Not just the city of Franklin. So we've told a lot of Franklin stories, and now we're going to venture out and go into other regions of our community. And we're so excited to have this esteemed family here tonight to share a lot of the rich history of this community. So I think first we're going to have John Boleyjack. This is a family of 15 children. Is that not amazing? Woo! I had 2 and they were handfuls, so think about 15. Their parents did an amazing job. Don't y'all want to give them a big hand, because they're just in talking to them the last few weeks, I have just been so excited and so thrilled, and they've just made my weeks and just waiting to hear from them. So without further ado, we're going to start with Mr. John Boleyjack. He's going to talk first, so let's give him a big applause, a big hand. Thank you. You want to sit down and stand up? Whatever you prefer to do.
I'd like to say hello, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see all you beautiful faces in the place. I just wanted to tell a few stories about us in the rural era. I think we could really learn a lot from looking at rural people, how we had to come together as a unit. And I just want to start off with just thanking God for a good principle that we had and good teachers that we had. Sometimes we didn't have the best of books. They sent us books that some of the pages would be out of. Sent us desks that stuff already carved in them. We took old stuff, but we didn't let that stop us. We had teachers say, hey, I'm looking for the best out of you. We're going to work hard. We're going to take what we got and we're going to make the best of it. And so we had some great teachers there. And I just thank them for what they done for us. They was wonderful. And the Scales family, I just want to thank them for what they done. They give us land for the school, land for a church. That's how much people in the rural area cared for one another. We come together as one group, caring for one another and sharing what we had with one another. And Green Grove down there, they had the Bosque family, which is a part of my family. They came there and they gave land to put a church for worship services, and also they had school there. But it was hard because so many people had to walk to school. They didn't have transportation. Some of them would carpool and just to get kids to school. And the times were difficult. They went in all kind of weather. Stormy weather, cold weather, sometimes hot. But through it all, they went anyway. They didn't let that stop them. And we just look back and be thankful so much for what happened. But we came up during a time that, we was so many in school talked about it. So we don't have busing. And it's so hard for us to get to school. So Miss Mary McLemore, the brother of the superintendent scale, the sister, superintendent scales, she called a meeting over to her house. And she said that bring as many people to my dad, as many as you can get. But he wasn't able to get anyone to come. So he went on by himself. She brought her brother in and she told him that, well, he said, I don't know what we can do that or not, get school buses for them. He said, but we'll take it to the board. She said, well, I know you can do it because the white kids already have buses. I know it can go on. So he said, finally, if I can get the buses, will you get me a bus driver? My dad said, I think I can. So he went to Mr. Eb Stones, you might see on the picture, and he agreed to go out and fill out the application, and he got the job as the first black bus driver in Williamson County. And from the schools was so crowded on the bus, trying to get to school, they just really had a hard time. Many of them had to stand up. So the guys would let the girls sit down, and they would change up back and forth and stand up. But they said, no, that was against the law, against the rules. You couldn't stand up on the bus. So that's when they changed it all. They had a bus coming from Nolensville, and they would come up and they would take the kids to Nolensville Elementary and take the high school kids straight on to Natchez. Well, then they come up with, at that time, but from Lee Buckler School, they came from Thompson Station, they came from Brentwood, they all got buses. So everybody was able to come to school. And so that was a beautiful thing, and so much for the busing. But as I look down and I think about all the great people in the era that stood up, big families like mine, and that was people at Green Grove like the Shaws, the Pattons, the Ansels, the Lees, and the Ridleys, and so many more, just like the Hatchers and the Boleyjacks. And we had big families. Big families was important in the rural era because the farmers, they needed help, and they had to get it from us. So we all kind of worked together and in eras like that. So we had to just stand up for one another. And we just praised God for what we could do. And so we just, we wanted money, so we had to just go to work. And so there was times that we come up and we sometimes didn't know why we was gonna get all the money. But we had people in the area said, hey, I got work. I have work for you. And every Saturday, we get through what we had to do on the farm, we went to their farms, and they paid us. But we had some that, they wasn't very good payers. And you had a hard time trying to talk money out of them. And there was some that was fair to everyone. But there was others, well, they wanted to pay the white boy a little bit more money than they did me. And I done more work. But I didn't say anything because they paid me what they said they was gonna pay me. But next time when they asked me to work, I said, I see what you paid him. I'm not coming unless when I get what he's getting. They said, well, you're gonna get it. He said, I'm gonna do it. So we went through some situations like that, but we stood together and we got blessed in a lot of ways. And I come back and I look at situations, my daddy always told us, have good conduct and good character. Carry yourself well and respect one another and be respected. He said, no one is better than you and you're no better than anyone else. You go to church, you belong to the church and the pastor and the members of that church. You go to school, you go to the principal, and the teachers, they have authority over you. If all fails, you got to come by me. And so those things we had to go through with. But getting on one fellow that I was working with, I have to say that it was a little bit hard working for him because he never did want to pay very much. I told my brother, I said, I love his grace and I like his style, but his pay is so cheap, I want to be gone for quite a while. But we just hung on in there, and I think about my dad was a big coon hunter. He had a lot of friends, even some of them there in Franklin, like brother, Gentry. They used to have Gentry Market right there on Natchez Street. He also had Lord and Drayton Jr. He was a coon hunter. He had Willie Officer down at Tennessee State University, and so many white guys, business people, and all. They was big time hunters, all kind of business people. But he had such a good time doing that. You might see a picture of why they coon hunted together and enjoyed themselves together. So we, in a rural era, as country people, they stood together, and we worked together. And we worked with the Vaughnses and the Boleyjacks worked together, killing hogs and all of that. Well, they would always kill more hogs than they needed. But like they said, somebody in the community, some friend or somebody might lose a job, and they may need some meat. So we want to have something to share with them. That's what rural people did. They went out and they helped one another. And I just it's a wonderful thing. People thought, well, back during the times in the 60s with John Lewis and Luby and all of them, they was fighting to get to the water fountains. They couldn't sit at the table together. But here we was out in the rural era. We sat at the same table and we ate with them. We worked with them. We got the water cooler. They didn't have the water fountain, but we had a water cooler. Sometimes they had to take a dipper and get water out of there, but we all drank from the same cooler. And people in this nation could learn a lot from the rural area of Williamson County. We were still together. We had to do it. We was working together. And that gave you respect for one another. And after all of that, we turned around when we didn't have no more work. We got together and we played baseball. Well, I have to say that it really wasn't a black team and a white team. It was an integrated team way back then. But because we was together, we worked together, we knew one another. That was our community. And so I just have to just tell you all the things that we've done, and there was probably a few that I left out, but praise God that things really worked out good. We had so many wonderful people that went to school with us, so many ministers that coming out of the schools there. We had like Brother Rucker, Brother Elgin Webb, and so many. My brother Joe called in ministry. Brother Ridley, George Ridley was called into the ministry. Just so many. Even I see one right here was in the ministry that was at Natchez, but we had so many wonderful people in that era. And I have to say that I don't think I could have lived in a nicer place. And in spite of some of the things that was people didn't like, but basically we had a good community and people came together to be who they were. And so I don't want to take up all of your time, but I have to say that I'm looking around, looking at my sister, I think my time is up. My time is up, and I want to thank you for yours. And glory, glory, you heard a true story.
On the picture up here, as you can see, this is Eb Starnes, and this is from the school at Kirkland School. We did a class reunion of Kirkland. We had everybody to come, and you would be surprised how many people came out for that. Marie and I, we put that together, and it was absolutely wonderful. It took a whole year to do it, and just like he was talking about the schools, we just had like he said, we had wonderful teachers, and all the stories that he told was so true, and the things that we went through, but we got through it. And simply because we had people like that told us, like he said, we could do anything. Right. It's nothing you can't do. If you work hard, you can do that. And so this has been a wonderful thing here today, and I really appreciate. And like on this paper right down here from Marie's, the church, Green Grove Primitive Baptist Church, all the families here, they had the parents of the children that went, like the Oglesbys and the Ruckers and the Hatchers and all these people that had to walk to school to get there. And this was in 1953. And so we went through a whole lot. And plus, John didn't say anything about it, but he's got a green thumb like my brother, he and my brother Joe. They make the most beautiful gardens. And they picked that up from the great-grandfather and grandfather, and they carried it on for all this time. But you can see they don't even let a little piece of grass get in their garden. And of course, he told you my father was a hunter and a farmer, and he also, had tobacco. So he was always proud of that. He had to take a picture in front of it because he loved it so much. Okay, so you through? Is anything else you want to say?
You just go ahead.
Okay, you have more time, but what we'll do is I'll do mine, and then if you have something else you can think of, you can come behind me and finish it up. Okay? Okay. That would be good. So I'm going to turn this poster around so you all can see what I'm going to be talking about first. Okay? Yeah, I can bring it over there. Can you hear me? Okay. Without that? Okay. Well, it's so good to see everyone, people from my church and everything. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. And I just want to recognize at this moment my father's attorney. All those years, Lawyer Peterson. It's just absolutely wonderful that you're here. You just don't know what it means to us to have you to come out. It's been absolutely great. Okay. After John, I don't know if I'm ready to get up here now. Well, that's okay. Okay, go ahead.
Well, this is Elaine.
Yes.
Boleyjack Bell. And she is one of the sisters, of course, but
yeah.
I didn't mean for you to just get up and let's not introduce you.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Thank you so much, and we welcome you, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. As she said, to my classmates and everything, I was always Ovie, but everybody else, after I married my husband, I was Elaine, okay? So my name is Ovie Elaine Boleyjack Bell. I'm the 14th of 15 children that came into this world through George and Annie Boleyjack. I lived in Triune community from birth through high school. It is one of the rural areas of Williamson County that lies between Franklin and Murfreesboro. It's a beautiful place to live, and that is why my husband and I built our home 5 minutes from where I was raised. I would like to tell you 2 stories from the past that was told to me by my mother and father about their grandfathers. I will start with my great-grandfather on my mother's side. His name was Thomas Jefferson Wilson. He was born in 1864. He was a sharecropper and a father of 4 daughters and 1 son. I was told that he would travel almost anywhere to find employment at an early age to take care of his family. During his latter years, he would work on farms around the area where he lived in Williamson County. He would raise tobacco in Triune for many years while sharecropping with other farmers. In 1936, his life ended in a tragic accident on Nolensville Road, close to where I live today. It was a cold night in December. He was walking home, as he often did, because he didn't own a car. While on his journey, a man driving a Chevrolet hit him from the back and dragged him 15 feet down the road, injuring him severely. He received a gash in the back of his head, a broken arm, and a deep wound to his back. R.G. Smith, the local mail carrier, was the man that hit him. He got out of his car and saw what he had done, put Thomas's body in his car and took him all the way to Nashville. I can just imagine the pain that he was feeling riding to Herbert Hospital, now known as Meharry Medical Center, the only hospital that blacks could go to in the 1930s. He stayed in the hospital for a few days, and then he suffered and died from his injury. His family was devastated by their loss. They knew that they had to do something. But in the 1930s, blacks had very few options. It was almost impossible to take a white man to court and have him acknowledge his part in his death. Yet that is what my grandmother and her family did. They wanted justice for their father, even though they worried about the consequences because of so many hate crimes during the 1930s. I was so proud of them for never giving up until they had their day in court. They had an all-white male jury that delivered the verdict. They received very little of what they asked for, but it was never about the money. It was about making him accountable for their father's death. I would like to read to you the article from the newspaper that took me 5 days to find in the archives. When I gazed upon the words, I had to take a deep breath and then look for his name. And this is the article. I read it to you. Negro is hurt on the highway. While returning from Nashville Sunday night, R.G. Smith, rural route carrier at College Grove, hit an aged colored man, Tom Wilson, who was walking in the middle of the highway. A car meeting him blinded Smith until it was too late to miss the Negro. Mr. Smith carried the Negro to a Nashville hospital. A few weeks ago, I found a picture of R.G. Smith with the help of a friend. He was the mail carrier that brought my great-grandfather's mail each week. The family had to see him each and every day during this time. I knew that my grandmother came from a praying family, and oh, how they needed the Lord to pull them through. Many people thought that the Wilson family was passive and accepting of what was being done to them. That was far from the truth because they showed courage under pressure. I'm named after my grandmother, and I hope that I'm making her proud standing here telling her story because I'm so proud of her for fighting for what was right. It may have been an accident that took place that night, but in the light of day, there was an empty place at the table. I would like to tell everyone here tonight to always listen to your parents and grandparents when they tell stories about their past, and maybe you will find the truth in black and white. Charles Darwin once said, "The species that survive aren't the smartest species, nor are they the most intelligent, but rather the ones who best adapt to change." I'm glad that my family was brave enough to reshape the life that they envisioned for generations to come. And I thank God that the world is changing, maybe not as fast as we would like for it to, but we must keep faith in what lies ahead. That's about that grandfather. And it was a labor of love looking up all of this information about my great-grandfather, and it came from my mother because she told me the story when I was a young kid. And she would tell me what happened. Each time she would tell me a little bit more, and that's how she told me the year. She told me it was in the winter time, so I was able to go through the archives and go through the microfilm and everything until I came across it. And then I have, on the poster over here, I have everything that she told me. I even have the transcript from the court, and I have his death certificate. I have the picture of the man that hit him on the road. And this is my grandmother that I'm named after. And this is her sisters and her brother there. And you know, just knowing that I was able to put this puzzle together. Finally, you know, when you hear stories and you know of our people, it's very hard to get all of this. And so this was very amazing for me to be able to come across it all. And I'm happy to be able to tell you about it. And this story is going to be about my other grandfather. Now I'd like to talk to you about my other great-grandfather, Arch Boleyjack. Some of the people may have heard some of the stories at my church because I talk about him a lot, because he's so special to me. He was born into slavery in 1840 in the state of Virginia. He was sold to a slave trader named John Boleyjack and brought to Williamson County. Sorry, John. And brought to Williamson County. He married Sally Owens after slavery and had 5 children. Their second child was my grandmother. She would often tell a story about her father. She told us about the day Arch was taken from his mother. Her father said she was crying and wringing her hands as her children were being taken away. I know very little about his life during slavery. My grandmother told me that he didn't like talking about the past. He would only tell the stories about his mother, and his eyes would overflow with tears. She also told me that he was a hard worker and loved his family and friends. He purchased property in the 1880s on Sanford Road in Nolensville, where he and his family lived for many years. Arch died in 1909. I was unable to find a death certificate. I could only use the tax records, but I needed to know more about his life, so I started to search everywhere. I went to the library and looked in the archives, went on Ancestry.com, FamilySearch.com, and they only told me the same thing I already knew. Then one day, I came across his voter registration card. I knew that he had to own land and pay a poll tax. I went to his tax records and saw that he paid $2. Now, back in 1980, that meant that he could vote. I was overjoyed with the prospect that he was able to vote in 1891. If he did, I would be so proud of him for being the first in our family to exercise this right. Our family has always put voting at the top of our list of things that we must do because of many of our people died in order to bring this about. After Arch and his wife passed away, the land was given to my grandmother, and she passed it down to my father, George Boleyjack, and he sold it to me in 1992. I have loved this land as far as I could remember. Going to the cemetery where my ancestors were buried was special to me. It was like walking in their footsteps. When I was sent a flyer from the fire department said that they were looking for land, I decided to meet with them and discuss what would take place in their offer. I told them from the very beginning that I was concerned about the cemetery. I needed to know if they would take care of it the way that we did. They reassured me and said that they would also, and that they would also honor my great-grandfather with a historical marker. They even told me that I could design it. I was pleased that they gave me the opportunity to do this for my great-grandfather. It was a beautiful day when we unveiled the marker. Every time I visit the cemetery, I smile and thank Arch for all he endured for us. He truly left a lasting legacy for his family. The emblem on the marker was a broken chain, and the word vote says it all, because freedom has never come easy to our people. So basically, when you see it, the pictures on here, I'll come around this way, so you can see. I don't have a picture of my great-grandfather, but this is his daughter, my grandmother, and this is his son, Andrew, Margaret and Andrew. And this is Arch's marriage license when he got married to Sally after slavery. And this is the voter registration card that I found. And this is the one where I had on here with the 5 generations, my grandmother, my father, my sister, her daughter, and her grandson on there. And we have also up here a slave schedule that Arch would have been on at that time in 1860. And then the name of all the people that are in the cemetery there. And of course, my mother and father, passing on to them, and this is all my brothers and sisters, all 15 of us. And on the other side, I'll turn it around so you can see, this is where we did the dedication at the cemetery. And we had quite a few people there, the people from the fire department and the mayor's office and everybody, they came and we took pictures and everything there. And these are pictures of my other, all my family, great-grandchildren and grandchildren of Arches and everything. And over here's my mother and father. And my father, was following along in my great-grandfather's footsteps. He purchased property, 50 acres. And we were so proud in the 1960s. And so he felt so good about that when that took place because he couldn't wait to have something of his own, just like his grandfather did. He just didn't want to leave here not knowing that he did his part. So, okay, and I have one more story to tell you. This is basically about me, something that took place in my life, okay? I would like to tell you a story about something I heard during the Democratic convention. If you watched it, you may remember when Joe Biden's daughter spoke. Well, my brother had talked about this a little while ago. She said, "My father told me that you're not any better than anyone else and no one's any better than you." That was the same words that my father told me in 1967 when I was on my way to College Grove High School. I had lived a life of segregation, and now things were about to change. You can just imagine how surprised I was to hear those words, knowing that it came from the President of the United States and my father that was just a farmer. Yet the words meant so much to both of us that we would never forget what they said. My father also told me to keep your head high because he knew that it wasn't going to be easy. And it wasn't. Attending an all-white school in the area where I lived for most of my early childhood was something I never ever thought about in my mind. Never thought that it would ever happen. During that time, Black people were considered to be inferior. But as the years went by, I began to view my place in this environment as an experiment in life. As my mind took notes of all my surroundings and I evaluated my own inner thoughts, I came to the conclusion that what my father said was true, that no one was any better than I was. I just had to believe it. I often wondered why we were so disliked, because when white people would come to our home, they were so nice to us. The men that my father knew showed us respect. They would bring us candy and cookies. I never thought that their children would be so unhappy that we were attending their school. I think they would be totally surprised to know that we didn't want to be there because we came from a better school, Natchez High in Franklin. I wondered why they would force us to come to this ill-equipped school. They didn't even have a football team. I was going to go out for track and my dreams were taken away from me. I felt like I was living in a different world. I was told that things were going to be better for us. It never happened. We just learned to adapt as we always did. Now that I'm grown, I realize that most people have two faces, the one that they show you, and one that they hide. The difference that I see today is that I can choose my friends and know the true person inside and out. The reason why I share this story with you is because we need to have a dialogue about the past. It's almost impossible to move forward when we're standing still, waiting for the next shoe to drop. We live in a wonderful country with wonderful people. If we could just talk and tell the truth without being angry. It may hurt, but how refreshing it would be when we can breathe and take in the pleasure of knowing we're on our way to something beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to tell you that we're trying to get together as the three communities, and we're asking all the families to send in their stories so that we can have a book about our area, because we have a lot of stories to tell. This is just a few. You have no idea of what people have gone through and all their accomplishments and all the things that they've done over the years. And I think that we need to have it from the African American perspective, because I have read several books on the area where we grew up in Triune, but they never had the parts in there so much about us other than talking about slavery. And I want them to know that we went past that. We're on our way, and we're doing things that people would never expect that we accomplished in life. And so I think once we start telling everybody our story, I think they'll be totally surprised, because we have some beautiful stories from our area. And I would love for people to purchase it whenever we finish with it. But I just want to make sure that everyone's here. And right now, I would like for all the students that went to Kirkland Elementary to please stand. Thank you, thank you. Well, like I said, we were a community that was connected. We were not apart. It may have been 3 different areas, but we saw each other at church. We would see each other at school. We knew about each other's lives, and you know, it was special. People never understood that, how special it was. And simply because we were all African Americans in one big building at Kirkland, we had to learn to deal with each other. Now, I'm not saying it was all perfect, but we did enjoy each other so much, and we will never, ever forget each other, because we still have a lot of love. We do. We love each other. Every time we see each other, we're so excited. So I'm just really happy about that. So that's my stories. I don't know how much time we have. You want something else you want to ask?
You got
okay.
more time. Yeah, and you
but
got
John,
more time.
do you want to tell any more stories?
Some stuff. Tell me about
Tell
me about the people
wait a
that
minute.
were, you know, the city people in the schools thought y'all were country.
Oh, yeah. John can tell about that. People always felt that because we were in the rural area, as if, you know, we didn't know anything, and we were a very country family, and that's how they felt. You know, your country means, a lot of times I felt like they mean that you weren't educated. And they had no earthly idea that we came from a people that really taught us at Kirkland Elementary. They really did, and we'll feel good about it. But John can probably tell you some more stories about that. He's good at that.
Yes, we had a lot of wonderful stories that should be told. As we telling our story, we know it's a lot of more people here. They have their story. But I like to reflect again on the Christianity of the era. We had people like Elder Jasper Hatchett, wonderful person. I worked with him for over 20-something years. You know a fellow when you work with him. But he was always trying to keep us out of trouble. He said, let me tell you something, boy. It's easy to get in trouble, but it's so hard to get out of trouble. That was always his theory. He wasn't at home with his kids at night, but he was with us. And I think he probably maybe messed up on his kids trying to keep us straight. But we really enjoyed it. And so many people, like Brother Sawyer's, guy that I graduated with, so many ministers that went to school with me, wonderful people, even not only those that was out in the country, we got to know everybody in the inner city too. And they was wonderful people. I look at Brother Elaine over there. His brother was in my class. We had so much fun together. we act a little crazy sometimes, but that's just the way boys was. But we enjoyed one another, and Natchez was a wonderful place. And even all the people out in College Grove area, I had to go to a funeral about a month ago that one of the fellows I worked with, and we was out on the farms picking strawberries. And the man said, look, you picking the nicest strawberries, you eating them. But a big, nice red strawberry wasn't going in that basket. I just rubbed it off on my shirt and I ate it. He said, well, I'm gonna tell you something. You're only gonna get what you got to do a lot of picking because you're gonna get it for how much work you're doing. I said, well, I better quit eating berries. I got to go to work. And so we really talked about a lot of these stories. And he come out of a family of 21. And he was a white guy with 21 kids, but we all worked together. We sat down and talked about a lot of those old stories, laughed about it. We all, like I said earlier, we drunk from the same water cooler. It wasn't no separation. We were working on a farm. We didn't have a restroom with white only. We had one out there with a half moon in the roof. And so that's why we went, but we all worked together, and I understood everybody because they was in the same boat that I was in. I wasn't looking up to them no more than I was. We were all out there doing the same thing, working together. But through it all, we made it. And we was outgrowing crops. I was telling someone other, in 1963, we sold a crop, and I got $300 and some. My brothers, two brothers got $300 and some. I went to Harper National Bank right there in Franklin, and I opened up me account. I had me a checking account and a saving account. I really thought I had it going on. And we was working all the time, making money, so it was good. And my brother said, no, I'm not going there. I said, they might mix my account up with yours. He went to Williamson County Bank. And my older brother, he stayed at home. He went to College Grove. But we worked together like that, and my dad said, well, I don't want to be giving you all money. I want you to earn your own money. I want you to earn your own. So we just worked together like that, and we earned our money. And he said, you'll have your own crop. You don't have to be coming to me for anything. And I like that. He gave us a chance on his farm. We raised some sweet potatoes, and we had that tobacco, and then we was working for people. Oh, I was doing good in the neighborhood. And so I felt all right. And so those things was a great help to us to let you know that you have to go out and do things for yourself. I give you an opportunity. Now it's up to you to take it and run with it. And so it's many people that lived out on the farm, and many others. I know some of the Hatchet family, they are still out there doing it. And I like that because I'm a part of that. And like she was telling you how we like to grow gardens, even Sister Marie, she probably can tell you, maybe a little bit with Sister Thelma, we just love to get out and grow things. It looks beautiful seeing things grow and raise them up. I share them with my church family, my friends, and carry it off. And it's still the same people, a lot of them in the neighborhood. I'm still sharing stuff with them. And they love that. They said, oh man, with those tomatoes, they're out of sight. I said, well, I enjoyed raising them and sharing them with my family and loved ones because we got a lovely family. And you have to just keep on, regardless of what skin color, they still my family. And we have to understand that we don't have to go out in a fight. I want to go out in a loving way, in a respectful way. My parents taught us to respect one another and respect people, regardless of their color. We stand up for righteousness. And I'm going to always keep a strong stand. And I thank you all for having us out here today. And we thank you for all. And
go ahead.
So I think I'm finished. I think
she
did me a nudge when I done said enough.
I was going to tell him that we had at Kirkland School, we had, I think it was 32 or 33 people that served our country in the military.
Wow.
And I wanted to recognize them. It's rare that you get that many people out of a school that serve their country. Yes.
Wow.
So that was all I wanted to tell you, but I guess
That's
we're through now.
No, y'all good. Y'all good. We got time for questions. And
Okay, good.
I want to know where the garden is. I'm coming next year.
Well, John, you can tell about the garden simply because it's not even on your property. What your neighbor did.
My neighbor, Dr. Douglas York, he owned the property. He's a good friend of mine, and he's always come. He said, man, I just love what you're doing. And he'd love to come there and get good collard greens and turnip greens and tomatoes and squash, cucumbers, bell peppers, just name it, and we grow it. And we always said we put it out there, and we expect God to help us with it. And Brother Jasper Hatcher told me once, said, I'm going to have a talk with the Lord. Said, I put all that stuff out there, but it's growing up in weeds. I said, I want you to listen real good. He's going to have a talk with you. He's going to tell you to get those weeds out. But we had some wonderful people. Brother Doris Hardeman, I want to talk with one of my daddy's coon hunting buddies. I had tobacco, and you know, some of you might know and some of you don't. It'd have to rain to get it encased to pull the leaves off. So Brother Hardeman, he said, no, we're not going to hunt tonight. He said he needs help, and we're going to help him. They had another guy, Mr. Beasley, a businessman, all of them come together. They said, no, we're not going to coon hunt tonight. We're going to this tobacco barn, and we're going to help him get his tobacco, because any man out working and want to do something, a young man like this and doing this part-time, we feel obligated to help you. So they got in there, them old men, and they worked. And I was just so proud of that. They were just wonderful people. I just want to say that we live in a community where people shared and cared for one another. And I think I done said about enough for tonight, but we just thank you all for, I'm just glad to see all your faces in the place. Thank you.
So is there anything else you want?
I want to open it up for questions to you all, because it's been really amazing. Let's give them a big hand. This has been so wonderful to hear about the history of the areas, and we want to open it up for questions and comments also from the people who lived in the area, who can really allude to their stories and who can share some things, because we've got a little bit of time. So anybody who wants to? Okay, Danielle, you want to come up?
No.
Okay.
Where's this graveyard located at?
The cemetery where my great-grandfather is, it's in Nolensville on Sanford Road.
Beside the
Sanford Road. I'd love for you to come and see it. We took good care of it.
And I want to have them allude to a little bit more about the voting. They had to pay to vote. You all, we don't have to pay anything. We have the opportunity to exercise our right to vote right now. We need to vote. But when they were telling me about paying $2 to vote, I thought, wow, that is something. So if either one of y'all want to share.
I can talk about that.
I think that is
Well, basically, as we know, that it was always a poll tax. And just like it was, I found out a long time ago that there was also a list of things they would tell us that we had to know in order to vote. It wasn't just the poll tax. You had to know how many senators or how many congressmen or how many beans is in a jar. And so those were the kind of things that took place that at that time trying to keep us from voting. But I was so happy to see my great-grandfather being able to do it. And back in 1880 something or 90s, to pay $2, sometimes you didn't get but 50 cents a week to go out and work. So you can imagine how important it was for him, because you had to be a man, because we couldn't vote, women couldn't vote back then. You had to be a man, you had to own land, and you had to pay a poll tax. So to know that he did all of those things, well, being a man, he couldn't help that, but doing the other two was absolutely wonderful to let me know that he was a man with integrity. He wanted to make sure that whatever possibilities there were for him out there, and I even looked up one time what was going on in 1891. But a lot of things were taking place during that time. They were taking people off of the streets because they said you didn't have a job. So that meant that they were going to, if you didn't get a job, you could go to jail. And what they would do to you then, they would put you in to work for places like Sears and Roebuck's and all these kind of places, companies, free labor. So basically, they were going back to slavery again. And so that's the reason why basically they were voting, because they wanted to make sure those laws was no longer on the books. And so I was so happy when I read that to realize why he voted. So that was a wonderful thing to realize.
I want you to also say that even years later when women was voting, My Aunt Ella May said she still had to pay $2.
Well, they had for a long time they had to pay money to vote, but we don't have to pay money. Like she said today, we don't have to pay any money. We just have to get ourselves up and go and vote. So I talk about this all the time, how important it is, and I don't have any excuse. If my great-grandfather can do it, what is my excuse? Why would I sit at home and say, I'm too tired, or I can't do that? You know, we have no excuse, and we need to get out and vote, because that's very, very important. I don't care which party you vote for, just do it. Just do it. Okay,
right.
is there any more questions?
Let's see.
She
Any more
got it.
questions? Oh, she's got her.
I just had a question. You mentioned the 3 communities coming together to create a book.
Right.
What 3 communities?
It was Arrington, Tryon, and College Grove. Okay.
There's one in the back, Sister Newcomb.
Oh, is it Kirkland? I can say Kirkland. I thought I said Kirkland.
Sister Newcomb.
Yes.
I thank you for your information. I was just curious, I appreciate the fact that you're going to write a book. I wanted to know if you were going to write a book for gardeners as well. Because we would love to know the secrets of, you know, information that you're giving, that you say you all garden like that. Not everybody knows how to garden.
John, you should do that.
John, new
Yes.
project.
A new
Well,
Information would be greatly appreciated.
well, I was an agricultural major, and I was to the state, when we New Farmers of America, I was the state treasurer. I was stayed active in it. I was kept up informed on what was going on with cattle. We had to judge cattle. We had to grow vegetables. We had to know nitrogen, phosphate, and potash was our growers, and know how to do these things, how to make preparation for your soil first. So we went through all of those things, and it was very educational because everyone's got to eat. We got to produce meat. We got to know how long it takes an egg to hatch, how long it takes a sow to have pigs, how long all of that. We learned all of that in school. My dad, he always looked at all of that. It took 9 months for a cow to have a calf. It took 3 months and 20 days for a hog to have pigs. It took 9 weeks for a dog to have puppies and 6 weeks for a cat. So I don't want to run down all of these things, but those things that we had to learn in school would take a horse 11 months and 29 days. I don't want to run down all. That's a long time ago that we in school, but if you really learn something, I had a teacher called Miss Lanier. She said, if you learn something, you still know something.
We would love the opportunity to learn something
from your gardening.
Well,
Yes.
thank you.
information you need, because nowadays, you know, the cost of groceries, you need to learn how to grow your own food, whether it's
Right.
Right.
I
Well,
appreciate you.
well, thank you. I really love to garden, and I mean, you get the best tasting food. You get much of it that you like. Sometimes I grow too much, but I always take it to church, and everybody just loves it. So it's easy to get rid of it. And sure.
Okay.
All right, there you go. Okay, go ahead.
My name is Maria Ovie, and they was talking about the Green Grove Trinity Baptist Church. So that's where I go to church at. So our church been in Green Grove in the Tri-Union area for 154 years.
Oh,
Out
wow.
of 154 years,
Congratulations.
out of 154 years, we getting ready to install ourselves as pastor next month, Reverend Charles Claybrook.
Okay.
You know, and my husband, Frank Ovie, he was the assistant pastor there before he passed. And so we got some rich history there, and I am grateful. And I've been there at Green Grove myself ever since 1965. And I've been serving up under 4 pastors since I've been there.
All right.
And I'm so grateful. And I thank John and Elaine for accepting it. You called me, and I called them.
Amen.
To do the work. I thank
Well,
you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. And as we say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Moses Fisher. I'm the only one in my family who was born in Detroit. My mother was born in Franklin. And back in the 80s, I used to coon hunt with Doris Hardeman.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Another guy
wow.
named John Lee Hughes, you remember him?
Yes.
But one night, We was on this 3,000 acre farm, about a mile past Coleman Road. And I think they said a Creighton family owned it. Construction, 3,000 acres. But anyway, they shot a possum. And they gave me the possum. I took the possum home. I love coon meat. I took the possum home and I went to skinning the possum. And my fingers went to itching, both hands. The itching went all the way up to the top of my finger.
Oh.
And then all the way down. I told my mother, I said, Mama, I think I'm allergic to this possum. I just went itching everywhere. I put that possum in that bag and threw it away.
Oh my goodness.
Touched the possum.
Wow.
I don't think I want to touch a possum.
Those were some precious nights. I hunted with them for about 2 or 3 years. That was
Small world.
Precious.
It is a small world. That's awesome.
You know, I want to tell you this. My dad and them had those coonhound stories. You know, University of Tennessee, they have what they call a blue tick, and that's their mascot, Old Smokey at University of Tennessee. Well, my dad and them used to say that Old Smokey run around in the woods watching what's happening, and said because he was a blue tick. They had a black and tan. They was out there wondering what's happening. So they had walker dogs because they went out there and made things happen. That's what him and Brother Doris Hotterman and all of them, they had the walker dogs. But
I was with him one night, some guy, he sold a coon dog for $3,000.
oh yes.
I was witness that. I was there. $3,000 for a coon dog.
Well, those dogs and everything's worth $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. They used to tell my dad, so how do you get all of those good dogs? He said, well, I'm going to tell you something. I don't go out and find a dog that looks the best. And so I got me a female. She didn't look the best, and she wasn't this big, but I looked to her because I know if she didn't have those qualities, she had to have a good brain. So that's how I got the blessing.
Now, our time is running out, but I am going to tell you one story about my mother. My father, before we go, my father, one time that he had these dogs and he had the puppy, and he gave my mother the dog. And so she would feed the dog, and it grew up, and it was so beautiful, and it was slick. She took such good care of it. And so one day, one of Daddy's coon hunting friends came to the house, and he said, can I buy that dog like that? And he said, well, I don't think you can buy that dog because that's my wife's dog. And so my mama told him, said, come back the next day when he's gone. And so when he came back to the house, mama said, oh, how much are you gonna, give me for the dog? And he gave mama quite a bit of money. I don't remember exactly what it was, but when Daddy came back, that dog was gone. So he wasn't the only one with the coon dog story. But anyway, okay, but thank you so much.
This has been wonderful. Does anybody else have any questions before we wrap it up? We're so grateful for you all for the stories. This is just a little appetizer. Can you all wait to get that book? The book that they're going to share. And now we have another book on gardening. And wow. But
thank you all so much.
Thank you. And at this time, I want to have Miss Battle. She's going to present a book. Well, it was supposed to be one to each of you all, but
that's okay.
my car didn't start, so you'll get yours later. And I caught a ride. I got to catch a ride with Harvey.
I'm
okay.
patient.
At this time, we want to ask Brother John to come over, and she's going to present. And she will be presenting the same book to Sister Ovie as well, and I'll let her have the podium.
Good evening. It is so wonderful to be out here tonight and hear the stories that they have to share about the families. I had the honor years ago of meeting your father, Mr. Scooney is what we call him.
Right.
I was invited to his home to do an interview, and it was so wonderful. I would like all of you to know there's an urgency in gathering these stories.
Right.
We are
Amen.
losing so
Amen.
many of our elderly people almost every week, every day. I have traveled all over the county collecting stories. I've picked turnip greens from the Hatcher family farm in 3 locations years ago, and their father allowed me to bring other people. I have visited Kirkland and Pete Thompson, who's dead now. Yes. He carried me to Mr. Urban Scales' home, a white man, and I learned so much history about those places. I visited Marie Ovie on her, I call it a farm, but she had an orchard with pears and she shared. And John and his brother Joe would often come to Franklin and share their vegetables with me and the neighbors on my street for a few years.
Sweet.
And we're so blessed. And everyone needs to know about these families from all black families all over Williamson County.
Right.
It's an urgency in collecting, doing the research, writing and filming about it.
Right.
Now, I was asked to give one of my books to the Boleyjack family, and I was told to give it to the oldest. It's here tonight, who is John. This book is Natchez Street Revisited, Volume 1.
Yes.
Now, I've actually written 3 Natchez Street Revisited books, but there was one to be given to Ovie as well, but Alma can tell you, but she's going to get it to you.
Right.
So John, on behalf of the African American Heritage Society, we would like to give you this book on the Black history of Natchez Street in Franklin. But there's so much history, as she said, all around Williamson County, and we need everyone in here that has stories to share, to write it down or tell somebody so they can do it.
Right. Do you want to stand over here for a picture of you all, if you don't mind? Thelma and John, and then we'll let Ovie hold the book till she gets hers.
Till I get mine, I can hold
till you
it.
get yours.
I can at least hold it, okay?
Yeah, y'all get in a picture together. The 3 of them. I don't need to be in there.
Yes,
I
come
don't
on over
have
here.
to
Come
be
on.
in there. I don't need it. I'm good. Thank you all again. We're gonna.
I want to take time out to say thank you for this book, and I really appreciate this.
Yes.
And we want to thank Ms. Thelma also for all the work that she does and what she's done over the years. She's written so many books and she's got so many stories, and we need to give her a big hand.
Wonderful story.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And at this time, while you all are standing, I want to present you all, is somebody, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, that's true. We should say that.
Yeah.
Well, I would like for my family to stand up because I forgot to do that. I have a son over there, Marcus, and my daughter-in-law, Allison. Woo! Yeah. And my daughter, Sydney, and my wonderful grandson, Dominic.
Hi, Dominique.
And my very special husband, Dr. William Bell.
Yeah, y'all
Okay,
come up for a picture.
And of course, that's his niece and nephew and
Beautiful family. That's a good idea. Hi.
Oh, you got him?
Hi.
Come in front of the podium a little bit, okay?
Great.
You did the job.
Oh, beautiful. Picture perfect.
She get it?
Okay.
Sydney
thank
hates
you all.
pictures, so I know
Thank
she's
you all.
like, get
Thank
this
you all.
over with.
Thank you all.
At this time, we'd like to present to John and Elaine a membership to our organization, a family membership. So you are members, you will be members for a year, and then after that you would have to
for the
renew.
membership.
But this is, tonight we would
You're
like to
just
present that to
teasing
you.
us, okay.
And also anybody who is not a member, we have membership sign-ups back there in the back. Our board chair Pamela is holding up her hand. And I think somebody asked me recently, do I need to renew my membership? So go back there and check. And we have several in here who are members. So if you're not a member, you don't want to miss being a part of this elite club, right, y'all?
That's
Now,
right.
especially we have these authors in here now. And the garden book.
Oh, my goodness.
So at this time, thank you so much, and thank you all.
Oh,
And I
you're
will be
welcome.
giving you your book
Get
to
my
you.
book. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank everybody for being here. We really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you all once again. Let's give them one final big hand.
Thank you.
So they were great to wrap up the season right now. Now we have one event. We're not going to have a porch talk. We're going to have what we call Pumpkins on the Porch. And we had a lady who came and volunteered that had an idea because we love the McLemore house porch, don't we, y'all? We used to have porch talks. Where's that sign? Where's that sign, y'all? The porch, welcome to our porch. We used to be on the porch. And we'd have people come and talk, but it got to be so hot the last couple of years, y'all. We cannot be on the porch. So the library has been so gracious to allow us to use the room. But Pamela is going to come up. Miss Vanna is going to come up and show, Pamela, come up and show them the sign. So we want to
She said,
welcome
"Oh, no."
everybody to our porch.
Oh, she looked like she's on TV showing.
I know she is, our beautiful model.
She's modeling the sign, okay.
Welcome to our porch.
Porch, yeah.
We still call it Porch Talks every month.
Yeah.
So this month, in October, we won't be having one. We've had some wonderful, wonderful speakers. Have we not, you all? Have they been not good? So then we'll have, next month we'll have Pumpkins on the Porch, where we will have pumpkins. People will come and be able to get pumpkins. Bring their kids, get pumpkins for Halloween and for the season, and you just make a donation. And that morning, I think it would probably be the first 50 people. Hattie B's will have breakfast, and we have breakfast and coffee, and we'll have the pumpkins there. And this would be an opportunity to come to the museum for a free museum tour. The museum will be open, so we want you to come. That's on October the 5th from 10 to 12. So put that on your calendars right now. And hopefully everybody, we're not having the event for the Porch Talk, but this is the event that we'll have in October. So thank you all again, and if you have any questions, you can see one of us, one of the board members or whatever, and we'll be happy to answer your questions on any events that we have. Pamela, did you have something? Oh yeah, I did. I recognized the board members a while ago, but they didn't speak up. Board members, raise your hand. Okay, thank y'all, Harvey, Wanda, Carolyn, Pam, thank you all, volunteers, everybody, well, thank you all. Supporters, that's everybody in here, so thank y'all so much for supporting, and you all have a good evening. Thank you.